Your body and your mind.
Okay, so we're gonna do dark lips today, and whenever I say to people or my clients, I'm gonna do some dark lips on you, they always go straight to gothic in their minds, or they think it's gonna make their lips look tiny, and I am not about tiny lips. I'm gonna show you how you can do great big dark lips and have it look luxurious, not gothic. Okay, so let's take these specs off. A few ingredients here. How am I gonna combine these? I'm gonna show you a couple of little good tricks. The first thing we're gonna do is very lightly, I'm just going to make sure that my lips are blanked out. So I'm not trying to add coverage, I just want to make sure that they are dry because it means the lip product's going to stick, and also the edges are nice and clean. There's nothing worse than seeing a beautiful lip next to blemishy skin or like really patchy skin, so it's really nice to have that all looking really clean before you start. Okay, so nowadays there's a primer for everything. And I hear a lot of people going, oh, primer for lips. I don't have the time. Look, I don't have the time either. You know, I've got a child, we've got a job, I don't have time, but I do have 5 seconds to do this. There we go, we're primed. So the main thing is when you are priming your lips, take it over the edge. I'm gonna make my lips look a little bit bigger, so it is gonna mean going over the edge, so I wanna make sure the skin around the lip is primed. And what a primer's gonna do, look, primer's like underwear. It's what you put on underneath your foundation, underneath your makeup. Same thing with lips, is gonna help keep it on, and it's gonna make the whole thing look a lot smoother and stay longer. All right, so I actually find it easier to put the lipstick on first and line afterwards. Sometimes when we do the line first, it messes with our heads, we get shaky hands. It's a bit easier to start with a bit of color. So I'm going for a really nice sort of dark wine color. I'm gonna make this a lot deeper and stronger with the lip liner. Don't worry about the edges of the lip. We're gonna perfect it. I just wanna get the base on. I always have a bit of a tissue handy. It means I can just blot the lips and take off a little bit of moisture. When the lips they've got too much shine, it's really hard to layer products on top. I just wanted to get that base on first. So, next step, doesn't matter if I'm doing nude lips or dark lips. Sometimes when the pencil's too sharp, it becomes too pointy, it's all too hard. I like to just soften the nib of the pencil to make your job a lot easier. I always start in the center, and you know, I don't often say always, but this one has not failed me yet when I've done other people's makeup, and I do it for myself too. If I start at the outsides of the lips, it means one side's gonna be higher than the other one, they're always uneven, so I like to start in the center, and it gives me the best place to start. And I'm just sitting the colour just under the ridge of the lip here. Now in terms of getting this shape on, I'm sticking to my lip shape right now. We're gonna blur the edges, which is gonna make the lips look a bit bigger, but we're gonna save that till a little bit later. Look, it does help when you've got a couple of cameras and lights around you to get the best light. But even when I'm at home, I will go towards the light. So if it's the light in my bathroom or my window, do your lip towards the light. If you're doing it in the dark, you're gonna think you've done a great job, and then you turn to the light and it's gonna look hideous. So make sure you find your light and get those edges. I always love to go right in over the lips there with the pencil. If you just do the edge of the lip, you're gonna be left with a line at the end of the day. So you wanna color your entire lip on. All right, so here's the thing you can do, and I will suggest this with, if you're doing a red lip, a nude lip, or whatever. The more layers you put on with a lip, the longer it's gonna last. So I get a tissue, take off that excess, and I'm gonna apply it again. I used to do bright red lips on an opera singer, and she would always get lipstick all over the microphone. And so we would do about 3 or 4 layers, because each time, even though the lipstick was going to come off, each time she would mash her face up on the microphone, it just meant that there was more layers there, so it took longer for it to come off. All right. Even Steven. Okay, so this is looking pretty good, but it can look better. So what I want to do is I want to make my lips look even bigger and fuller. So I'm going to go in with, surprise, surprise, a pink lipstick. It's a matte. I'm loving matte at the moment. Basically, I want to go in with a lighter or more vibrant colour through the centre of the lips to make it look fuller. So now you get a little bit more of a 3D effect. There's a few different ways you could do this. You could do this with a nude lipstick, or I love to put nude lipsticks over different coloured, deeper lip colours, and it just gives them a nice fuller vibe, which we love. Okay, so the biggest thing I know that a lot of people stress about is the edges of the lips. Everyone holds their breath while they're applying, holding it, get the perfect edge like a makeup artist. You know what, a makeup artist usually takes a lot longer. I love grabbing a tiny brush and I'm just gonna soften the edge. I'm not trying to blur it out and make it look like I've been kissing all night or pashing. I want to just soften and rub in the edge of the lips. It just looks a little bit more worn in and it looks like they belong to you. It doesn't look like the lips are wearing you. So by rubbing this in, it means if you've got dry lips or they're a little bit more textured, you're really rubbing it in. It looks a lot smoother and it kind of takes the pressure off when the edge isn't too perfect. And this is where you can take out the edges a little bit more. I'm just blending them out a tiny bit to make the lips look fuller. If you prefer not to use a brush, you could also be doing this part just with your finger. Okay, so if you're like me and you're obsessed and you want to make sure these lips last 3 or 4 days, I like to set the edges of the lips with a powder product. So what I've got here is these are actually blushes, but you could use your favorite plum eyeshadow that you do your smoky eye with. You could use a blush, as I said. It's essentially finding a powder product that matches the lip that you've done. Or you could actually use a translucent powder. You can use a small eyeshadow brush. There's a few different options. You can go quite a bit smaller. Essentially what I want to do, this one's from my Kitco. I love this guy. It is a 1.20. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this blush. Okay, so what I'm doing, there's a few things that this is gonna do. This is going to seal in the edges and make sure it doesn't move, doesn't smear, but it's also going to make the edges a lot cleaner. So what you could also do is you could pick up, if you prefer a really crisp edge, you can use an angle brush. Let's go here, and you can get a really defined edge. It all depends on your aesthetic. I'm a little bit more Robbie-y. Now, be careful with this. Clearly, this is quite a dark color. So if you feel a little nervy about dark colors, perhaps I would use like a translucent loose powder and do exactly the same thing. All right, and to get these lovely clean edges, grab your face powder that you're using. So I'm gonna grab my powder that I use to start the makeup, which is just my touch-up powder, Studio Fix. And I'm gonna go just around the edges. I can't help it, every lip, I have to do this to the end. Got it. I don't know if there's one last person out there in the world who hasn't heard this trick, but I better say it just in case. If you are doing a full-on lip, there's many chances that it's gone onto your teeth, and that's an awesome look when you go and see people that you know in the street. Make sure you try and get that off. So you can obviously smile at yourself, but what I love to do is, because most of the product you applied is through the center, just do that and you can see all that excess product that comes out on your finger would probably have been on your teeth. You're good to go.